All right, hello everybody. Good evening and welcome into KC Sports Tonight. I am Mark Poulose, joined by the real deal Neal Jones here on this Wednesday, August the 26th. Neal, little camera inception there, taking a picture of the stream. What's up with that?
It looks like you're wearing lipstick.
Hey,
look at your picture. Look at it.
It looks regular to me. I don't know what you're talking about, but I am wearing makeup. I have some foundation.
Yeah, but
and
I don't think you're wearing lipstick. In person, you don't look like you're wearing lipstick. Over there, you look like you're wearing lipstick. I look like I'm a mechanic.
Because
I wore the wrong T-shirt. My wife is going to kill me. Another silver moment. Oh, I can't send you out without dressing you. I wore one of my old T-shirts that show right up there. And that's a big no-no for her. She hates that.
Hey, everyone's got to wear an undershirt, especially when you were out there in the heat today at Chiefs practice, where we got a big-time headline today. The Chiefs announced they will have a different starting quarterback for their third and final preseason game. It is going to be seventh-round rookie out of LSU, Garrett Nussmeier, getting the reins under center for the preseason finale on Friday at 7 p.m. at Arrowhead Stadium against the Seattle Seahawks. Now, Neal, it sounds like Nussmeier might get some extended playing time in this game, but what do you think about this? Garrett Nussmeier starting the preseason finale.
I think it's interesting. I think, again, the way that the NFL is approaching the preseason has morphed rather quickly. I looked around after week one when the Chiefs did not play any of their obviously Patrick Mahomes didn't play a second of that game. And I was trying to get a sense of what other teams are doing around the league, because we know it's a copycat league. Teams that are successful, people have a tendency to follow whatever they're doing. And there were very few starters who saw action, even for a series. You know, Andy Reid traditionally would play his starters for a series or so and then get them out of there. I think just wanted to see some tape, get them a few snaps, get it under the belt. But then they lose. 2 years ago, they lose Hollywood Brown on the very first play of the preseason, very famously. And then we saw what happened last year in the first game of the regular season when they lose Xavier Worthy. He runs into to Travis Kelce on that crossing pattern, and it affected them both years. It affected them having their speed guy out. So I think that has sort of informed what the Chiefs are doing. Why are we playing these guys in the first preseason game or the second preseason game? They're not going to play extended moments. We want to keep them healthy. We want them when the regular season starts. But I am wondering how this will work out, not having your quarterback play any at all. And what does it mean for Nussmeier? Is Nussmeier the guy? Like, let's say right now, if Patrick Mahomes, if they make the decision, his knee's swelling out, something's happened, he cannot start week one. Mark, what does this say? Does this make it more likely that it would be Nussmeier who would start? He's looked good throwing the football. He does not look like a rookie. But at the same time, you got a guy who's proven, who's played, started a bunch of games over his 4 years in the NFL.
I gotta pause you there. When you say Justin Fields is proven, what is he proven to be? Proven to be bad? Proven to be a bad quarterback in the National Football League?
He's been with bad teams. He's been places that no one has been able to succeed. I mean, wouldn't you agree with that? He played for a Chicago franchise that was awful. It was bad enough that they fired his head coach after 1 year. It was a bad situation.
Well, do we consider he's played for the Pittsburgh Steelers? I think a lot of people think they're one of the best franchises in football. Do we consider them to be a bad team?
He went in there and he had a chance to compete in the preseason for the job. And they also brought in another guy who was competing against, and I don't know if it was fair or not. I know that he has started games in the NFL. He made some good plays. He's not looked good throwing the football, but who's he throwing to, and what kind of protections he been getting? So while he hadn't looked great, I don't think you can judge a quarterback by the preseason. Andy Reid does not game plan. They don't tailor their offense for what the other team's defense is doing. They just put you out there and give you a chance to do some things. I think it's hard to look good in the preseason, especially when you're new to the system. But my question to you is this. Does this inform us of what they think is going to happen? Andy Reid, when he did the press conference today, said, do not think this says anything about Justin Field. I told Justin, just stay loose. We may need you to come in, but we want to see Nussmeier. I think they like Nussmeier, and I think they see him as being a guy that down the road might be a quarterback for them if they need to be, but I don't know that it necessarily means week one. What do you think?
I think this is a situation where we could, I love to say this here on the show, actions speak louder than words. What's the action that we're seeing? And actually, it's an inaction because they are not putting Justin Fields out there on the football field. Now, what does that kind of tell me? That tells me that Patrick Mahomes is not cleared to play a regular season football game, and that Justin Fields could be the guy that has to start week 1 Monday Night Football against the Denver Broncos. Because if Patrick Mahomes was potentially able to play, I think they would be willing to play Justin Fields here in this final preseason game. But by not letting Fields play and by having Nussmeier play potentially the entire game, it sounds to me like they want to make sure that there is no injury to Justin Fields and that he could be able to go week 1. So to me, I think the biggest takeaway out of Garrett Nussmeier getting the reins for potentially all 4 quarters is that Patrick Mahomes may not be ready for that week 1 game. Even though, Neal, we've seen him at training camp. He looks unbelievable. He's not limping. He's making throws. He's playing with confidence. Do you think this move kind of is a little bit of a nod to saying, hey, we need Justin healthy?
That's interesting. I had not thought of that, but you could be right. Maybe they're treating him like he's a starter. Justin Fields, you're a proven guy who started a number of games in the NFL. Okay, you're our guy. If Patrick can't go, you're our guy. We're going to protect you. We'll put Nussmeier in. We like Nussmeier. We like his upside. We think that he throws a beautiful ball. I've had 2 assistant coaches tell me away from the cameras, boy, he throws a beautiful ball. He really does. He throws a great pass. He's the son of a coach. They've mentioned that 3 or 4 times. He does things, little things that rookies normally don't do, and it's because he grew up with a dad who's a football coach who's telling him, you got to get your footwork here. You got to do this. All the little things that fans like you and I don't necessarily notice have resonated with him. And of course, everybody loved him at LSU until he got in a bad situation his senior year. It was not good for a number of reasons. But
Brian Kelly?
Well, Brian Kelly's his offensive coordinator. He was in trouble. He also lost his left tackle, who was a first-round draft pick the year before. They weren't as stable on the offensive line. They had some issues on that team last year. So I don't know that he put his best foot forward. But I think that everybody thinks he has got a good future. And what does that mean? Does it mean that he's a backup for Patrick Mahomes for 2 or 3 years, then they trade him for a good draft pick because people want this guy? That's what's happened to Andy Reid in Philadelphia. Think how many times he had backups come in and he won significant numbers of games with them while his starters were out, and it resurrected those guys' career. Maybe Nussmeier, who is not resurrecting a career, but he's building one, maybe that's what his role will be.
Neal, I have one more question for you here because we heard head coach Andy Reid say today in the press conference that he threw Nussmeier out there with the ones. So it seems like obviously that's maybe, he's out there with Travis Kelce. He's out there with Rashee Rice. He's out there with some of these other first-team players on the team. When you hear that, do you think that means we might see some of these starters? Because I thought, to me, it seems like they don't play anyone that matters here in these third preseason games. It's to evaluate the young guys. But if they're throwing Nussmeier out there with the ones, what do you think that means?
I think it may mean that he may get a quarter with the starters, and then the ones will go back to the bench, and he'll finish the game. He might play. Nussmeier might play the entire game because they don't think Chris Oladokun, the fourth stringer, who actually played a game last year for the Chiefs, started that Christmas night game for the Chiefs due to injury. Chris Oladokun's got an issue as well for an injury.
Concussion,
yeah, he may not be able to play. And can you imagine Chris Oladoka? And this is what you're dreaming of, an opportunity to play half a game. Let's get it going. I can put some good stuff on tape. And then if I get cut by the Chiefs, which everybody thinks is going to happen, I'll catch on someplace else because I look good. And so I feel bad for him. For him on this situation, he can't play. But look, this is a great opportunity for Nussmeier to take a big step forward, get snaps in a game, a preseason game, but at least it's a game, and then move on down the road.
Well, actually, before we get on to our next segment, which is going to be a fun game, we're going to play Big Deal or No Big Deal, talking about some stuff about the Chiefs. It's got my wheels kind of turning here. If Garrett Nussmeier cannot finish the game, or maybe they pull him out, maybe, twist an ankle and they want to just take him out of the game. I guess Justin Fields could go in.
Yeah, he does. That's what would happen.
But
the coach said Justin Fields would go in.
Keeping his arm loose. I saw Andy was kind of getting that right shoulder ready. But, Neal, who is the Chiefs' emergency quarterback? Is Noah Gray is still that guy? Was he ever in that conversation?
I don't know. I don't know who that is. I remember one year when they went to the Super Bowl and the 49ers were forced to play. Who did they play at quarterback? They play. Remember they?
Oh, because all those guys were injured.
They had 3 guys hurt, and they ended up bringing back their injured quarterback who couldn't throw the football.
Yep.
And it was in the NFC Championship game. Or
Brock Purdy, yeah, he could not throw the football. I remember that.
So I was at the Super Bowl, and I'm like, so who's the emergency quarterback? Because you had Blake Bell, who had played quarterback at Oklahoma and started at Oklahoma, and he was a high school All-America down in Wichita at Bishop Carroll, but he had played at Oklahoma as a starter and had gone in and beat Notre Dame for Oklahoma. He had beaten Oklahoma State in relief of the starting quarterback down there. He played a bunch of quarterback. He had the belldozer where he ran. I said, and plus, let's be honest, he had the strongest arm on the team. That doesn't mean he was necessarily the most accurate, but he could throw the football out of arrow easily. He's 6'5", had huge hands. Boom, he could throw it. But I would kid him. I go, and at the Super Bowl, I asked him, shouldn't you be the backup? And he's like, look, I'm not going to get involved in that. I'm the third string tight end. I play a lot. I'm happy. I'm doing my role. And I go, but shouldn't you? No, I'm not getting into that. But then the other guys on the special teams were like, yeah, he should be the third. He should be our backup to the backup quarterback because he started and played big-time games as a QB.
Hey, Travis Kelce played quarterback in high school, too. Maybe we
option quarterback.
Yeah, hey,
option quarterback.
Andy Reid knows how to dial up some plays. What was it, a couple of years ago, and he's like, I got to play from the 1945 Rose Bowl. I'm sure he could dial up some plays there for Travis Kelce, but we got to move on here. Big deal or no big deal? Neal Jones and I are going to break down 3 to 4 kind of big topics around the Chiefs that have surrounded the team maybe this preseason or maybe going into the preseason finale. But, Neal, we got to start with the elephant in the room, the biggest conversation that everyone's kind of talking about here. Patrick Mahomes has not played a single snap of live football here in this preseason. Last week in their preseason game at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in an interview with Trent Green mid-game, he said, I'm ready to go. I'm kind of looking forward to playing, but it sounds like obviously the Chiefs are taking the safe and cautious route, as they probably should with their $500 million quarterback. But, Neal, my question to you, Patrick is a guy that has played in every preseason in his career. Do you think it's a big deal or no big deal that he has not taken a snap in live action this year?
I think it is a very big deal because while he has had to come back from knee surgeries or knee injuries a couple of times in his career, once at Texas Tech and then once when his kneecap got twisted over and he had to miss the rest of the game and I missed a week and then he came back. It's a big deal to come back from that sort of injury. And I've had people who are football people tell me they believe that he has been protecting it during practice, and I think he has. And I think he's admitted that he's been told, don't cut sharply. He talked about that yesterday. You can't do that. Well, when you're in a game, I think they're going to say, look, when you get in trouble, throw it away. I know this, Mark. They cannot afford to have him tear up his knee again where he misses significant time, maybe the rest of the year. They can't afford that. There is no single game on the schedule in the first month and a half of the season that's more important than his health. And I don't want him to – look, you don't want to go 0-6 because then you're in fear. You probably won't make the playoffs. But at the same time, you don't want this guy ripping up his knee even more severely, so you want to protect him. And the problem with him is he's such a competitor and has had a history of just running around and making plays. You don't want him to do that. You want him, if you get pressure, throw it away. You have to be smart and do that. You see competitors. We saw it in the preseason game either last week or 2 weeks. I guess it was last week when Justin Fields kept the football, and he takes a sack for about a 15 or 20-yard loss. Luckily for him, he got bailed out because his kicker made a long 41 or 45-yard field goal. But competitors don't want to give the football up. They want to hold on to the ball because I believe they can make something happen. That's been Patrick Mahomes his whole life. You know, him running around making plays with his left arm, running around and diving. You got to tell him you can't do that. If a play breaks down, get rid of the football. We'd rather have a 15-yard penalty for grounding than get you hurt. And that's what worries me is he is pushing it. He is trying to run around and make a play. Understand you can't do everything you did before. Hopefully, eventually you can, but he's going to be 9 months out exactly to the day from that injury. And this is not an injury that's a 9-month heal. Your dad's a doctor. Ask him. I'm guessing that they're going to say the knee's not as strong now, even with everything you've done to prepare it. It's not as strong today as it would be, in 3 or 4 months. But no, that's what scares me, is that he goes out there and he gets in a game, and he hadn't been in a game, and he gets hurt. That does bother me. And talking about football sense, I think he'll be okay, but injury sense, I worry about it.
Yeah, I think to me, it's kind of interesting to say big deal or no big deal, because I think the right decision is to not play him. So
right.
I think it's a no big deal, because you absolutely cannot risk it, but it's a position that you cannot truly evaluate until the live bullets are flying. Now, we know Patrick Mahomes, he's a tremendous player, 3-time Super Bowl champion, 2-time MVP, but what we're seeing at training camp, yes, it looks good, but the problem is that he's not allowed to get hit. They're not allowed to go after Patrick Mahomes. And when you go out there on the football field and you go up against these other teams,
look who they're going against. It's the Broncos.
Who led the league in sacks.
They have the best pass rush that maybe they might see all season, but certainly the best pass rush in the AFC West. And they understand, if we hit this guy and we get him out of there, we have a great chance of winning a game at Kansas City, which could set up the rest of the AFC West race for them. We have a win in hand over the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. That's why
That'd be monumental. But if you were an opposing defensive line coach, an opposing defensive coordinator, there's not a single guy you want to sack more in the National Football League this year, I would say, than Patrick Mahomes. People don't like to maybe talk about this part of the game, but there are going to be players out there that want to take Patrick out of the game.
Yeah, it's called football. That's what you do.
It's a violent game.
You don't want to cheap shot him. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about making a clean play against him. And because that's the way I would be if I'm the Chiefs. I'm like, you got to get after these quarterbacks and hit them early and often, not cheap shot them, not hurt them, lead with a helmet, spear them in the head. That's not what I'm talking about. But it's football. And you got to make these guys be football players, and that's why you got to get after them.
And the other teams know when a guy's banged up. Look at last year, Xavier Worthy, when he came back from his shoulder injury. I guarantee you every defensive backs coach on the other team was like, hey, hit this guy at the line of scrimmage. He has a banged-up shoulder. His shoulder hurts. Hit him in the shoulder. That's what happens in the game of football, and that's what could happen to Patrick Mahomes. So, hey, kind of a tough situation there with him, but I think it's the right decision to obviously not play him. But big question on if he can be cleared to play that first game against the Denver Broncos. Now, another guy that we want to talk about figures to be a big part of the team's offense this year. He's the reigning Super Bowl MVP, Kenneth Walker III. Neal, Kenneth has missed practice now for 2 days in a row as he deals with some swelling in his ankle that head coach Andy Reid said was due to his shoe. Now, you actually got some video at training camp of Kenneth maybe doing something that I want you to talk about, but is it a big deal or no big deal that Kenneth has missed 2 days of practice?
He has a chance to be the MVP of the offense this year. Think about that for a moment. The MVP of the offense, not the quarterback. In the NFL, everything is geared for the quarterback to succeed. Can't hit the quarterback. You can't touch a quarterback. Can't touch his receivers. Running backs, you can tee off and hit them late, hit them early, hit them in the head, hit them from the side, hit them when they're down. They never call anything when you hit a running back, pretty much. So, no, this is a guy that has a chance to be the difference maker. Everybody on that team, everybody that's talked. I mean, Travis Kelce said the guy is unbelievable. He's going to make such a difference to our offense. The screen game with this guy, the ability to run downhill with this guy, the ability to run stretch plays. If he can stay healthy, and he has not had a history of staying healthy, to be honest with you, because running backs generally don't in the NFL. The seasons are so long, but he gives them a chance to really be special. I'm shooting at training camp a couple of weeks ago at the very beginning, and he sits down. He and Patrick are talking, and so I'm zoomed in on him. And he sits down and he takes his shoe off, then he pulls his sock off, and then he's working on the back of his ankle where they've got a pad on there like it's got a blister is what I thought it was. And I don't know what it was, but so I zoomed in on it. You'll see it tonight at 10 o'clock on my story. So this is a big deal. When there's a reason they gave him this much money. There's a reason why everybody's talked about him. Everybody on that offense has talked about this guy's special, so they need him. They don't need him necessarily to be perfect every game, but he's going to be a big part of their offense. So, no, it's not good that he's got an ankle problem.
Well, I think if you kind of look at this Chiefs offense, outside of Patrick Mahomes, who is the best playmaker on the team, I think from what we've seen up at training camp, yes, Travis Kelce is going to be in the Hall of Fame. Kenneth Walker right now looks like the best playmaker on offense outside of Patrick Mahomes. He looks like the one guy that could maybe have an explosive play.
You have to account for him. Linebackers are not going to be able to. Oh, we got to account for the tight end. No, we got to worry about number 9 first. Where is 9? Is he running the football? Is he faking to him and he's blocking, or is he releasing? Is he running screens? He's a guy you're going to have to account for the way you used to have to account for Travis Kelce every play. And so Walker will make other people better. He'll make Kelce better if he's healthy. He'll create more things for other people. But then, to me, you're asking the question, I think a guy that could be a playmaker for them this year has a chance is Xavier Worthy. Worthy got hurt week 1 last year, was not the same the whole time. But think about him in the Super Bowl. He was the guy running deep. And look, the Eagles knew that the Chiefs were going to throw it deep. He's so fast, and they were able to connect. He had a couple of long catches late in that game. He had a touchdown that got waved off, I believe, as well because of a penalty. But at the end of that Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes talked about it. I'm just going to force feed him the football deep. I think that was their game plan last year, and then they had problems. They had problems.
Yeah, 3 plays into the year, he hits Travis Kelce, and the rest is history.
And Rashee Rice was suspended early in the season. I don't think we ever saw the offense do what they could do. So, no, I think Worthy is a guy that could be a playmaker for them downfield this year. Will it be like Tyreek Hill? No. The defenses are playing the Chiefs differently, but I think he has a chance to be a playmaker.
Well, and he's also not as good as Tyreek Hill. We got to give Tyreek Hill his props. All right, we got 2 more topics in about 8 more minutes, but we'll do one more big deal or no big deal. We all know everything the Chiefs have to do this year is keep Patrick Mahomes upright, keep him off the ground, keep him out of harm's way. But maybe one of their best offensive linemen, left tackle Josh Simmons, he's still missing practice. Today, head coach Andy Reid said he's still dealing with a back injury. And, Neal, you were there at the facility today. The way Andy was kind of talking about this, it doesn't sound like the Chiefs have this all figured out. He's like, we have to figure out what's going on. Is it I know the Chiefs still have a couple weeks till September 14th, so it's not like Simmons has to play on Sunday. But is it a big deal or no big deal that Josh Simmons is still out of practice?
Yeah, it's a big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's not like, Trey Smith was out today. He was, warming up with him and doing stuff with him, even though he's had the hip problem, right? So he's out there. He's good. He feels good enough to do that. Josh Simmons, and anybody who's had a back problem knows what it's like. It can be debilitating. It can affect everything you do. You're sleeping, just sitting in a chair. If you sit wrong, it can be a problem. So, no, I don't want to overplay it because we don't know how bad it is. But if you don't have your left tackle, Josh Simmons gives them a chance to protect Patrick Mahomes. If Josh Simmons can't play, aren't you kind of back to square one like you were last year or the year before when you were like, who can play tackle for us? It becomes an issue. They're talking about a guy who was undrafted, was not invited to the combine, who had terrible grades.
Was not a priority undrafted free agent.
Yeah. And Khalil Benson is a guy, number 70, is a guy that they're playing. They want to see him. They're like, you know what? This guy can do some things. He did not grade well in the preseason game the other night. I saw one of his sacks that he surrendered, and that was on the edge, and he released the guy because he didn't know his quarterback had gone out all the way out to the outside. And so I told my wife was watching, and she's like, what's he doing? And I go, Liz, you think he's behind you and you're protecting. He runs out there, you release him, right? A speedier outside edge rusher who's thinking your guy's here. Well, your guy had gone outside, you lost him, and so you end up giving up a sack. I don't know. I'm told he's not very athletic, doesn't have very good feet, that he's a pretty good mauler. He's a guy at the point of contact inside or on run plays, he can handle himself. So he's a rookie. I'd hate to see that him have to be one of the starters because it worries me that if Simmons is hurt, what does it say? He missed a lot of time last year, right?
And it was ugly when he was out. Yeah, tough situation.
So it is very frightening.
Hey, we're going to see Chiefs still have a couple weeks left until the regular season begins on September 14th, and roster cut day coming up on Sunday. So we'll get to find out who's on the Chiefs' 53-man roster.
Look, you're waiting to 55 after the hour to talk about the hottest team in baseball.
That's right.
You hate the Royals. You hate the Royals.
Okay, you must be the Royals' biggest fan. But so the Royals, Neal said it, they have won 9 games in a row.
If they win out, they're in the playoffs.
Is that even true?
I told you that last weekend, and what have they done since then? They've won every game. You laughed at me. Oh.
Maybe Neal Jones is a prophet. Look at that. The University of Oklahoma did teach him one thing. No, I think it's their first 10-game. I had it here. Their first 9-game win streak since 2017. So this is kind of a historic stretch here for the Royals, going for 10 in a row tonight against the Toronto Blue Jays. Randy Dobnak, the former Uber driver, is on the mound for Kansas City. Neal, he has a 1.58 ERA so far for the Royals this year. How big of a revelation has he been? But
look at this. So Toronto wanted to sell at the buy sell. They wanted to sell. That was the smart thing to do. And their owner goes, we can't sell. We won the American League last year. We got all the way to the World Series. We led the game into the 9th inning of the World Series, and we've sold out our stadium. They average like over 45,000 people per game at the Rogers Center.
They play for a whole country.
And everybody goes there. It's become the event in Canada up there. And he says, you know what? I can't pull the plug. I can't do it. So last night, 45,000 fans there going nuts. So excited to be there at the refurbished Rogers Center. And so and the Royals just flat out outplayed them and beat them.
They did.
And it's going to be great tonight.
I hate to do this to the Royals, Neal, but we actually do have some breaking news. So the Royals are going back to the back burner. We just got a push alert right here on KCTV5. We have the web story on our KCTV5 website. Neal, the NFL has ended the Pro Bowl game, but players will still be honored as Pro Bowlers. So I know the Pro Bowl has kind of gone away. It's changed here in recent years. They had the skills competition. A lot of players don't like to play. But to me, this is a little bit of a shock. What do you think now? The Pro Bowl is no more in the National Football League. The game was held at least in some format every year since 1951. Were you born? You were already born. You're probably 10, 15 years old by then.
Yeah, I lived through World War II. You know, Mark, what's interesting is the ratings on the Pro Bowl game were massive. It's the week before the Super Bowl, and so there's not a game, and there's no college games. I don't think there were college games that late. Maybe now with the playoffs there are. So it was kind of the only football game, right? And it was always done in Hawaii. It was pretty and the whole bit. But the players didn't want to play it. The players are like, why do I want to go out there and maybe get hurt? Because guys got hurt. There were guys who got hurt. And so
Sean Taylor lit up a punter in one Pro Bowl. Really bad.
So I understand from the player standpoint they didn't want to play the game. But, you know, it made money. And this is one of the few times we've seen the NFL step back from something that made money. But that's what they're doing. And so that's very interesting. And I had always wanted to go out and cover that because I bet it's a fun week.
Yeah. All right. So the NFL, the Pro Bowl is no more. This is on our website, KCTV5.com. The league says 88 players will still be named as Pro Bowlers. They will be honored in Los Angeles after this season. There will be several flag football events that will also take place at this time. So big news coming out of the National Football League here on a Wednesday night. The Pro Bowl is no more, but still 88 players will be named to that. Neal, I'm still in shock by this because I know people kind of. It's a joke, but people did like to watch the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, but the way it's been done, I mean, it's not football. I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't want Patrick Mahomes to play in the thing, get hurt in a Pro Bowl, which means nothing. Look, I don't think it's too late. I think that everybody needs to reach out and give us their opinion on, is Mark wearing lipstick? I want to know if it looks like that way to me. I know he's not wearing lipstick, but it looks like he's wearing lipstick. It looks like I'm like wearing this, so it's pretty bad. But seriously, I don't think people are going to be outraged about the Pro Bowl. I just don't. I don't think so. Not. It's because the game. It's not a game. It really. If you could ask me, could they play the game and really try and give each winning team $1 million apiece or something?
I think you're cooking up an idea here, Neal. What if each player got maybe $100,000?
$100,000 is not enough. But I think if you gave them,
especially for the Pro Bowl caliber guys,
if you gave them $1 million apiece for the winners and or $1 million to charity in your name, so you could choose a charity of your choice and get $1 million for it, maybe people would want to play it. But you know, there was no buy-in from the players, and when that happened, you knew the game was going to probably end up being what it is, which is kind of a glorified flag football deal, right?
All right, guys, there it is. The Pro Bowl is no more. That's a look at KC Sports Tonight here on this Wednesday, August the 26th. Be sure to stick with us this week. We have football coverage, high school football coverage coming up on Wednesday as Missouri is starting their season, and also the Chiefs' final preseason game. We're going to have Neal Jones there on site on Friday. He'll have a recap package coming up on Saturday over the air on KC Sports Tonight. But that is a look at sports here on this Wednesday evening. Until we meet again, make it a good one, everybody.